Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Tier 10 Soviet heavy tank that's a premium tank, the Object 780. Now this is a tank that you'll be able to get for 2,000 gold at level 100 on the season pass, and yeah, you basically get a Tier 10 for 2,000 gold, or if you just have bought one season pass in the past and you've just used that same 2k gold to recycle all the time and key cards etc, you'll basically get it for free. Because obviously with the season pass, I mean, that's the way, it's always a steal, right? You pay 2k for the season pass, you'll get 2k gold back, and then you can use it again on the next season, essentially, as long as you don't spend it. And then you get key cards and stuff like that, also give you gold, so net profit, right? And yeah, you'll basically get this tank for free in that regard. Overall opinion of the tank, to start off with, it's okay. It's just an alright tank. Its gun's really nice. It's got 7 degrees of gun depression, which is un-Soviet-like. The armour on it is really hit or miss. It seems to like work quite a lot and then not work at all. And you sit there going, why? But it's more of a midline support tank. It's more of a heavium, right? It fits the role of help the heavies out, but don't get stuck into a massive brawl yourself. Because this armour is all about angles, and in the throes of battle, sometimes you can get angled a little bit too much, and people will just pen your upper plate really easily. You end up going a little bit too much, pen your lower plate too easily. You angle a little bit too much like that, they pen this bit. They find random bits like overmatching this section here, or actually completely underneath the tank. They only have to catch a little shell just next to the lower plate here, and they'll overmatch it on the side of the tank. The armour on it is supremely inconsistent, and it can be a bit frustrating in that. But this gun is really nice. The 530 Alpha it has is nice. Like I say, I just think it's an okay tank. I don't think it's anything special, but I don't think it's anything too bad either. For me personally, my personal opinion, I would prefer to play the Object 260 rather than this tank, because I just feel like that's more well-rounded as a tank, as opposed to the only thing that it probably has that this tank doesn't is gun depression. But that's me. So let's get into the stats of the Object 780. So this tank has 870 horsepower with a 45 km/h top speed, which is not too bad. It's pretty mobile. It will hit that 45 km/h top speed dead easy. You could, if you wanted to, put a traction system on. You will hit 49 km/h, but I kind of wanted to help the gun out, so I don't run that. You got a 15 km/h reverse speed, which is fine. It's pretty good reverse speed. You got 17.47 horsepower per ton, which, like I say, it hits that 45 km/h pretty easily, as long as you make these ground resistances a little bit better with off-road driving, because it's got 34 degrees a second traverse speed on its hull, which is okay for a heavy, but 2.5 on soft terrain, 1.7 on medium, and 1.3 on firm. Now that soft terrain resistance is really quite bad, but you can knock that down quite a lot with off-road driving and other little perks that help the off-road driving skill, like Ball Leader, and you'll get that down a wee bit more. Camo doesn't really matter because it's a heavy tank. Exceptional, 410 meters U range. That is one thing that's absolutely exceptional. You'll get quite a lot of spotting from this tank, because you'll be able to put yourself in a position where you can spot, have optics on, situational awareness, whatever. You will spot a lot of tanks, and you'll get a good amount of assisted. Obviously, naturally, you'll get spotted a lot yourself, being a heavy tank, but you'll be able to spot for yourself really easily. And that 410 meters U range is an abnormality, really, for a heavy tank. I think there's not many that have that. I think the FE215B has it, and I'm not too sure of many other heavies that have it. Most of the time, that's mediums or light tank range, so that's damn good. You've got 30 degrees a second on the turret rotation, which is slower than the hull, so you might want to run something like rapid aim to make that better. Up to you. Accuracy during rotation at 0.84 is actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty good stat. That's not too bad in itself. 15 degrees of elevation is okay, with 7 degrees of gun depression, which is, again, is an abnormality for a Russian heavy. 7 degrees of gun depression is sound. It's the one thing it's got over the other heavies of the Russian line, that it does have that extra 2 degrees of gun depression. It's more Chinese in that way, really. And it's quite nice. You've got a 14-second reload for 530 alpha, which you can get down to about 10.2 or something like that. It's not too bad for 530 alpha. I mean, a lot of the guns for 490 that are Russian, and I'm talking about, that's basically the IS-7 and the 277. 277 fully pimped out was like 8.2 seconds, and the IS-7 was 9.1 seconds, so this is a whole second a whole 1 or 2 seconds behind those two, but it does have the extra 40 alpha, I should say. So, yeah, naturally it has a similar DPM. You've got 0.35 accuracy, which is pretty okay. Again, make that better with vert stabs, you can have a good time. 2.68 accuracy during movement is pretty poor, I think. And again, if you put like vert stabs and the gun perks and stuff, you'll get that down to a really nice number, which will make it more acceptable. 1.9 seconds aim time is also absolutely fantastic. You get the gun aimed in pretty quickly, which is great. You've got 40 ammo capacity, which is nice. AP, APCR, and HE, with 267 pen on the AP round, with 311 pen on the APCR. Obviously, you got the 530 alpha damage on these rounds as well. This tank, in my experience, is a different animal firing between standard and premium. The gun handling feels okay with AP. It's alright. It feels particularly nice, really. As soon as you fire APCR, it's absolutely fantastic. This shell velocity is incredible. And the whole gun handling experience of the tank feels fantastic. Everything hits exactly where you want it. You pen everything. It's really nice. The AP sometimes is hit and miss. It's nice gun handling for a Soviet heavy tank, to be perfectly honest, with the high alpha of 530. But it's a bit hit and miss with the shell velocity. I don't know why. It just feels like it misses a few shots that it shouldn't and stuff like that. But then, like I say, you switch to the APCR and you get this beautiful shell velocity, and it just... The rounds fly, and it feels so much better than it is. And I don't know, it's placebo effect probably, just with the shell velocity. But again, it's one of those tanks that the premium round is just so much better than the standard round. So that most people, when they get this tank, will probably just spam premium, because it's the way to make this tank on another level better, really. It's got the standard bonuses, really, for a tier 10 premium. Not really too much on the bonuses, really. But yeah, I mean, the stats on the whole, I mean, the gun handling is really nice for a Soviet heavy. It slaps hard at 530. I mean, I've rolled for 600, I've rolled for 450, as low as that. It hits hard, it's nice, and it hits pretty regularly. Like I say, it down to 10 seconds, nearly. And yeah, the gun handling is not that bad, actually. It's probably the strength of the tank. It's the armour that can be a bit troll. So, in terms of a commander that I run on this tank, well, I've been storing it in the 279E, so we'll go over here, slot it into the 780, and yes, so Vasily, what do we run on you, bro? We run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanics, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Off-Road Driving. Off-Road Driving, like I say, to help that, just to help the ground resistances, essentially. Then all the gun perks, just to make the gun better, to make it nicer. To be honest, with the turret rotation, you could probably drop this snapshot and put on rapid aim if you wanted. Or you could put on clutch braking to make the track traverse better. It's up to you. There's many different things you could do. Or if you just decide to spank full premium, get rid of snapshot and put on Iron Mace, because the pen drop-off is from 311 down to 265. It's quite a lot. Put on Iron Mace, it'll reduce that by a decent amount. It's completely up to you. The other thing I will say is this tank is made of fuel tanks and ammo racks. So you could want to run safe stowage. You know, you could want to run safe stowage to make the ammo rack just 25% better, or you could run fire prevention or firefighting just to help with the fire issue, because it has frontal fuel tanks which are directly behind the lower plate and the upper plate, so as soon as you get penned in the upper plate and lower plate, you get set on fire. It's kind of like the FE215B in that way. It does like to get set alight, which is really annoying. If they pen you in the cheeks, they get ammo racked. Yeah, it's really quite annoying, to be honest, with the modules in it. In terms of equipment, I do run rammer, vert stabs, and optics. But like I say, this is, again, down to your personal preference. The gun was annoying me because the first replay, or the best replay of the set, will be using the traction system, and I'll point that out when I get there. Because I thought, oh, you know, the gun handling looks really good. I'll use the traction system and get up to 49 kilometers an hour. But it was starting to annoy me, the gun, with some of the misses it was having. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to put vert stabs back on and make the gun really nice. The other thing is, with the view range being at 410, you don't naturally have to run optics. You could just run vents, really. Or you could just go, you know what, screw that, I'll just run traction system with vert stabs and rammer. It's up to you. But I'd recommend, if you're not going to run optics, run vents to make just the general, everything else about the tank better. And then put food on, because that makes everything better. The other thing is, you know, you could run a fuel or fire suppression, enhanced fire suppression if you wanted, just to be able to put the fires out and reduce the chance of catching fire by 25%. Because like I say, it burns. It burns a lot. It gets shot through the lower plate, it gets set on fire. So, yeah, that is totally up to you. So, in terms of the stats with this crew in it, you can see we have got the turret rotation speed up to 32.58, nearly at the whole rotation. Down to 0.63 now on the accuracy during rotation. This is massively better from that, what, 2.68 or something like that, down to 1.53. Massively better with vert stabs. 0.28 accuracy. 10.21 reload, which will be slightly better when you boost with food, naturally. 1.75 second aim time as well is fantastic. And you get 525 meters view range, which is absolutely filthy for a heavy tank, and spots really, really well. And then you can see the ground resistance is like, what, 2.5? Has been knocked down to 1.89, which is, again, solid. So, yeah, you can see what the stats do when you put all that equipment on it. I mean, naturally, okay, let's have a quick look if we drop vents onto it too. We can see that the accuracy during movement's actually got a little bit better, same as the rotation. The aim time's just got like a little bit better. We're down to 9.95 on the reload, so if you want to make the reload better, you just drop vents on. You're still at 488 meters view range, which is absolutely fantastic. So it's down to you and how you want to set the tank up, to be perfectly honest. So let's have a quick look at the armor model, because the armor, like I say, on this tank is a little bit odd. So we've got the armor model here against an Object 140. Firing its APCR round, which is 264 APCR. And as you can see, this lower plate is really solid until it tilts a slight bit, and then it starts to be able to pen it. And then it tilts a little bit more, and you can just hit this bit here, which is actually still part of the lower plate. It's just this little bit that curves, and it's a 30mm plate. So this underside of the tank, which sticks out a little bit, and if you're on a ridgeline, people can catch it really easily, is only 30mm of armour. So this can actually be overmatched by all 91 plus caliber guns, essentially, which is most guns at tier 10. So you've got to be careful that people don't overmatch your underside when you're going over ridgelines and stuff. Also, when you're on a ridgeline and you're using all your gun depression, you're not always going to be able to cover the lower plate, because just it's the weird way that this upper plate and lower plate connect, that you're not always covering the lower plate, and they will catch this bar on the upper bit of the lower plate pretty easily, and will pen it with the APCR. This upper plate is an auto ricochet angle though quite a lot of the time if you're on flat. If they're slightly above you, it starts to become easier for them to pen, which you just got to be careful of. And like I say, this bit of the engine deck here, which is round the turret, is also 30mm of armour. And you'll see that in one of the replays, that an AMX-30 or 30B just manages to catch this engine deck here and pens it. And you sit there going, what? Okay. Also, the turret front is really solid, but it's next to the gun 300mm thick. So as soon as people load premium rounds at tier 10, they will go straight through your turret right next to the gun. And again, you'll see that in the replay. Even not even firing premium, just goes straight through it, which is really annoying. You do have a cupola, which can be penned as well. So you've got to be careful. If you're down below, or should I say, if they're down below, they will struggle to pen it. But the more they get higher up, they will pen that cupola quite easily. You've really got to be careful of that and keep wiggling and moving. Like I say, also be careful, because you over-angle a little bit too much, they'll pen you here, and the ammo rack is behind this, so they'll damage your ammo rack quite a lot as well. And, like I say, fuel tank's behind this lower plate. As soon as we switch to 330 heat, though, you see a different picture with this hull armour. Basically, as soon as people fire heat, 340 heat, 330 heat. I mean, this is the lower heat, sorry, of 330. A lot of tanks have 340, then 350. Your upper and lower plate becomes just easy to pen for them, essentially. They just butcher it. And on flat, your upper plate is quite easy for the heat to pen because of normalization. It just goes straight through and pens it. The further down they pen it, they'll hit it. This is what I mean by it's frustrating, because as soon as people switch to premium and they've got heat rounds, it goes through. Really annoyingly, just goes through like butter. And you find you're really frustrated with the armour, because you sit here going, this armour should be like really good, but for some reason I just keep getting penned left, right and centre by random rounds. And yeah, the heat rounds here, like I say. And you see the turret front as well, right next to the gun. Like, it just goes straight through every time, pretty much. Like I say, the armour on this tank is good until it's not. It's really troll. It's kind of like the 279E in a way, right? It's really troll until people shoot it in the right place or just fire premium and go straight and go through you. And then you start to get frustrated going, I'm bouncing the idiots, but the people who know what they're doing just seem to go straight through me. And it's like my armour now means nothing. But yeah, that's the armour profile. Like I say, it's weird. It's just a weird tank. And like I say, it's got those, like I say, random spots where you can get overmatched on the engine deck, on the underside. Like, if they ever so slightly like this, then naturally heat can't go through because it can't it can't overmatch. That's the word I'm looking for. But like APCR will overmatch and go straight through. So you just got to be careful of these little things. It's just little intricacies with the whole armour of the tank. And you'll find that when people have got that 280 plus pen, they guaranteed destroy your armour pretty easily and really annoyingly as well. And you really have to be careful on those ridge lines going over them. Like I said, that is one bit that I keep getting caught out on. I go over a ridge line and then they just slap shots underneath me. Just be careful out there, people. So yeah, the Object 780 for 2k gold, well worth. Obviously, you'll learn it with 2k gold, and I think a lot of people will enjoy this tank, and a lot of people will get annoyed with it. I think it's just an okay tank. Let's say for me personally, I'd rather probably play either the IS-7 or the Object 260, although the IS-7 is a slightly different playstyle to this. But I'd rather play either of those two. I think the Object 260 does what this tank wants to do, but probably better, lacking only the gun depression, pretty much. But it slaps, it's got good pen, its mobility is pretty okay, the gun handling's quite nice, the armour's troll, but really annoying to use. Yeah, it's just okay. So as always, everybody, I'm going to send you over to the replays, where you can look at how it plays and make your own mind up on it, essentially. So as always, see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Object 780, and I've got 4 helpings of gameplay for you. These first two replays are sort of the more average games in terms of base XP and things like that, where you get yourselves into a nice little position and just get fighting. And you can use the strengths of the Object 780 to your advantage, like going hull down, because like I say, 7 degrees of gun depression, it's nice to go hull down, but also getting yourself into a position where you're not really the main attention of the focus, and you can sort of be a bit more of a supporting tank. Because this tank doesn't do that well when you are the main focus of someone's attentions. They will sit there and go, oh, hello, and then they'll, it doesn't go all that well for you, because they can pen you in quite a lot of places. Unless it's a tier 8, of course, or a tier 9, in which case they'll probably struggle to pen you. But if they get you side and stuff, then it's not going to be that nice. And naturally, being a heavy tank, you are a little bit slower to keep up with people that try and go around you. It is what it is. It's a heavy tank problem. But if you can keep slapping them up with this 130mm gun and keep slapping 530 alpha into people, it's going to be a great time. So we're on Vineyards, and we've pushed over to this A line because I don't like fighting the K line from this spawn whatsoever. It's not a fun experience. And I'm just trying to see if I can get a shot at this M46 pattern. We get a nice shot into the side of his turret, 455, and I'm just looking at it going, yeah, it's probably not best to stay up here. But we're going to see if we can get a shot at the Chieftain. There is a building in the way. I'm thinking, can I get a shot there? But no, we can still only hit the building. So what I'm going to try and do now while I'm here is, again, use the gun depression. Use the 7 degrees of gun depression. Get over into this little dip and see if I can start getting shots at the Conway if he was out in the open, or this Indian Panzer and 53 CP. We get a nice shot snapped into the Lynx 6x6 there, which shows you the gun can be quite nice snappily. And this Indian Panzer decides to come over. Now, we get a nice shot into his tracks to keep him in place, and we get a bit of assistance on the tracking there, which is nice. So now I decided, because we are pushing over here, there is this 53 TP, and I think This 53 TP will get one shot into my ass if he wants to, and then if I manage to get to this ridgeline here, I can turn my armour towards him, which makes it a pain for him to pen. I mean, he bounced off my side there. He's actually using the 105mm gun, so his stock pen is not that great. So even then, he was struggling with penners. It's quite surprising he didn't pen our side, though, because our side is only 100mm thick, and I've had Type 5 heavies pen me in the side, which is really annoying when they just come around and go, hello, pen, and 1400 damage. But yeah, it's quite surprising he didn't pen us there, because he probably should have done, but I thought, you know what, I'll let him pen me once, and then when I've got round, I can turn my armour towards him, he won't be able to pen me whatsoever, and then I can just farm him, and we can progress the flank, which is what we've done. This patch at 15558 is spotted at the back. Weird to see that they've got so much hit points and I don't one-shot it with 530 alpha, but, you know, is what it is. We get rid of the piggy, which is always great. Even with the lower alpha, they can still be annoying with how hard, well, how often they hit you more than how hard they hit you these days. So it's nice to get rid of him. And now we've got this chieftain out in the open over here. So it's like, oh, hello, Mr. Chieftain. Let me just start slapping shots into your trap. Because you've got a 130mm gun, you've got high alpha. You're more often than not going to track people first time, which is great. So we're just aiming for that drive wheel every time. We're slapping another shot in 554. It hits hard. Honestly, it's really quite nice how hard this tank hits. And we're just going to keep pummeling the shots into this guy. We slapped the shot in for 512, but he manages to pen us there. I think it was in the cheek below our turret. And it's like, well, that chieftain's gone now. So we want to try and move ourselves into a position where we can get shots at these guys that are at J8, 9. Because that's where probably all of them are. They're going to be all camping up there in that area. I'm kind of hoping someone gets spotted in the corner, maybe at K0 or J0, so I can have a shot. But the likelihood of me getting another shot here in this game is dwindling, and unfortunately the shot on the Stone Tiger on the move doesn't go anywhere near, and the other two tanks are on the other side of that ridge, so I'm not going to get another chance to fire at them, I don't think, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. And I mean, we've done 4.7k damage with 1500 assistance, which is not too shabby, and 2 kills. And I mean, generally, like I always say with tanks, you want to be trying to aim for 10 shots of full damage. And if you do that with this tank, you're going to be doing 5.3k damage. So we're kind of below that in terms of that, but it is what it is. It's a third class with the 1211 base XP, which is, yeah, quite low base XP for the tank. But we were facing a fair few little tier 8s in that game, like I said, that couldn't really pen us. The tier 10s we managed to take out, like the Chieftain. The Chieftain did pen us, but he only really shot at us once. And yeah, we managed to just sort of progress the flank. And like I say, support. We weren't really the focus of anyone's attention there. We were just sort of letting everyone else get the spots and then managing to get shots into them. And if you do use this gun, like I say, you're going to hit them more often than not because the gun's really nice. You're going to slap them because 530 alpha is great. And yeah, you just keep working them over and you'll be alright. And we're on the second replay. And this one we're on steps. And we've got this steps standard battle, variant, which from our spawn, the best thing to do is what you're going to see in this replay, and that is push straight to G8, and it's also nice to have people that are in a different position at like H0 to shoot as well. But push to G9, and then you can cut off their push along the HJK line. You can completely cut it off. You can spot the people that camp at like K5, 6, or even in the hills at K7. You can spot them. You can get good shots off, and hopefully if you've got a decent team, you'll be able to get a decent amount of assistance. But look where our light tank is. He didn't spot anyone. So I'm thinking there is no one crossing this line. You know what? We're going to use the pretty decent mobility of the Object 780 here. And I'm just going to push really aggressively to this hill over here. We get spotted, well, we get detected, and we've got the artillery detection symbol on. It's like, okay, so artillery's looking at me, and there it is. It's a CGC. We end up spotting it up, get a nice shot into him, sort of move a little bit in case he tries to shoot us, but he's not. And it's like, okay, the Guerrilla's taking hits as well. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to go straight across to K5, K6. We're going to go straight across, and unfortunately we missed the shot on the Cobra there, and get below the guns of this Tortoise and this other heavy tank. Because we can get here, get hull down, and try and do that. But unfortunately, with the 7 degrees of gun depression, it's a little bit awkward for the hull down, and we're probably going to expose just a little bit too much of our lower plate, unfortunately. But we'll make the best of it. Like most other Soviet heavies wouldn't be able to do what we're doing right now. And you can see that Tortoise actually overmatched our engine deck right next to the turret there. Didn't even go through the upper plate, didn't go through the lower plates. It just hit that spot on that engine deck. which is so frustrating when it happens. It's like, well, my armor is worthless for that shot there. That's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, it'll be frustrating when you do catch those shots, but you can bounce a decent amount as you're seeing so far. I mean, the MXM4 49, the HMH version there, was probably not going to be able to pen us that well. And with his APCR, he ended up ricocheting, and we set him on fire, which was quite nice. We got a nice shot into the Tortoise's cupola, and I'm just still aiming to shoot that bit, but he manages to pull back, sadly. And I'm thinking, right, well, I want to pull forward again. I want to progress this game. But I was kind of expecting this Tortoise to pull out, but he doesn't. And it's like, oh, okay. If he's not going to do that, well, I'll just pull forward and get some shots into this T-77 then. And we get a nice shot to the side of T-77. The artillery is something I'm worried about, although with the CGC, it doesn't hit as much, well, for as much. Like beforehand, it would have splashed me for about 1,000 quite easily, and especially if it only just landed next to me, whereas now it's probably more like 400, 500. And I was like, I want to get rid of that guy, but it's not to be. We're not going to get a shot at him. We end up bouncing off of the Cobra there, which is sad times, very, very sad times. And I decided, you know what, okay, I'm going to push forward again, fairly aggressively, and try and get a shot into the side of this Tortoise. So the Tortoise is just showing his side round the rock, and we managed to shut down the Tortoise there. And again, it's all about progressing our fight. So we got rid of the Tortoise, now we can move on towards the Cobra. But have you seen the medium tank at K56? And I was thinking, oh, the medium tanks behind us will kill that guy. It's like, wait, he's still coming? Alright then, we slap him for 512, which is a low roll, and we're going to swivel to deal with him, because naturally it's a Draugen. His 230 odd penetration is not going to pen us. And his Hesh won't pen us for sure, unless he gets aside like this. Now, we lazy aimed it, and that second of... Oh, I should have just aimed. And then we aim it up, slap him, and shut him down. Never lazy aim, kids. It doesn't work out that well at times. Probably should have just aimed it properly, and I wouldn't have had to stop. And actually, if I hadn't have had to stop, I probably would have got a little bit more damage. We're at 2.3k assistance with 4.9k damage, which is pretty good so far. With 3 kills as well, it's nice to be able to see that we've got 3 kills by just looking at the HUD. And we're going after the Cobra and this Object 907. Now, the artillery's just got shut down. That 907 just gets shut down by the light tank. And their Cobra is just running full chat into our team, and unfortunately for me, he's going to get himself shut down before I get to have another shot. And we finished the game with a pretty nice total for the tank. We finished with 2.3k damage with 4.9k assistant. 4.9k damage with 2.3k assistant, we'll get that right. The high caliber, second class, and 1383 base XP. A really nice game for the Object 780, really. Well, a pretty decent game for it. And yeah, if you get left alone and you'll be able to push aggressively down flanks, you can use the good mobility of the tank, the good alpha, the good gun handling, and you can have a pretty decent time, which is nice of it, really. And we're on to the third replay. And the third replay, we're on El Alamein. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to go to the position at FG5, round there. Sort of get hull down and be able to shoot the people that cross the JK. Because if they get spotted down the JK trying to cross there, heavy tanks tend to get caught out and you can get some good shots at them. Now, naturally, they've only got 4 heavy tanks. But I was thinking, you know, I can do that. And then I can try and spot their guys that camp as TDs along the K line if I have to by going around a different way. Or by going the other side of their rocks. It completely depends on the enemy team and how they set up. But the initial position at FG5 is a good one to take to be able to get those shots off along those guys that are crossing. The problem with it is, though, for the 780 is where it'd be a little bit better if I had the traction system with 49 kilometers an hour. If I was a little bit quicker, it'd be better. But for 45 kilometers an hour top speed, it's just about pushing it to get there. And you still miss quite a few of the tanks that get across. But we do have a Progetto 65 over here who is kind of spotting that cross, so I know if things are still crossing. And there we go. The heavy tank gets spotted, T-57 heavy. It's like, okay, we'll slap a shot in. We get a nice shot to him. Then this 30B manages to get a shot in that tracks us and pen us. And then he pens us again. APCR there, which is 255 pen, by the way, of that AMX-30B. And it's like, wait, where did he pen me? Yep, straight through the turret cheek. Right next to the gun. Like I say, it's really frustrating. We get detected and spotted, and it's like, well, he's there, isn't he? And we managed to get a nice blind shot on that MX-30B. Artillery tries to get a shot at us, misses. And it's like, well, I am hull down. I'm only showing my turret against this guy, so We're in a nice little position here. This is where you got to be careful, though, because I'm going up this ridge line here, and I'm actually exposing my lower plate now. At this point, I'm in at a really bad angle, which makes it far easier for them to pen. But I'm thinking, well, I'm truly hull down here. They're going to struggle to pen it, but they can probably still see a little bit more lower plate. But I currently am still waiting for that 30B to put around this corner. I get spotted and detected. I'm like, he's still there on that corner. No, he's actually gone above. And it's like, okay, no, can't do that. If he's gone above, he's going to be able to wreck us. And he actually pens the lower plate there. From an above angle, by the way. So, yeah, this is what I mean by the armour on the tank is really annoying. Because that sort of angle with his standard APCR at 255 pen probably shouldn't have penned, but it did. And that's what I've been experiencing with this 780 a lot. It's just shells that probably shouldn't pen are. And unfortunately, that shell on the Jagdpanzer 100 misses, I think. Or hit him and only did nothing. We switched to the premium so we can guarantee go through this guy and get the shell velocity. He, fortunately enough for me, missed with his heat round and we get to penetrate him and finish him off. We're up to 1500 damage with 757 assistance. 2 kills, which is nice. And I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm going to push to a position where I can try and spot their hill. Then we take a big hit there, and it wasn't the 4005 that hit us. It was something else like a gorilla that hit us there. It just managed to pen our upper plate as we were coming over the ridge line. Like I say, just because as we dipped down a little bit, that made our armour completely useless, and he managed to pen it. This is why I'm saying this tank is kind of that weird sort of troll armour. Because if you're on flat, it's really good. But as soon as you're going up and down undulations of ridge lines and stuff like that, that's where it starts to become really dodgy. And you can't rely on it that much. And it's just, well, you know, naturally, as you're going around battlefields, the terrain isn't all flat. And, yeah, it just means that random bumps and stuff that you can never sort of fathom just take away all the effectiveness of your armour, which is really annoying. So I'm switching to HE, because I know there's a Gorilla up there, and I know there's a 4005 up there. And I'm thinking, right, if I spot them, I'm just trying to kind of bait them to shoot at me so I can spot them the moment they fire. And then this 268 version 5 gets spotted. Now, the HE completely useless against that guy. I just wanted a nice HE pen against a Gorilla, because that'd be funny. Or against the 4005. But with that 268 version 5 getting spotted, I was like, okay, this was a little bit slow, but I was like, okay, I'm going to track the guy. And unfortunately, didn't do that, but we are spotting these TDs. They're up here. This is where the 410 view range with optics and stuff is really nice. Because naturally, their camo means they're really good, but we're spotting them, which gives our team a chance to get shots at them. And so far, we're at 3.3k damage with 3.4k assistance, which is nice. And this is why I really showed this replay, because it's got that ability. While you've seen the dodginess of the armor. Number one is why I want to show it, how it can be really good, but then also really bad. And then also the ability to use the good view range of this tank to spot and get assistance damage off of it. So there we go. We managed to spot the machine, and unfortunately, because we'd blind fired at that position, I thought someone would be there. At this point, because we'd blind fired, we'd missed the opportunity to shoot the machine, but we do get a nice shot into the 268 version 5, which actually tracks him in place, which is good. And we're having to play really careful because of our health situation. Because at this point, any point, it could go badly really quickly. Now, we get detected there, and that's bad awareness from me, really, because I could have got a shot at the Projecto 65 quite easily. And I'm just looking at these guys, and there's the Gorilla, 422, and I'm thinking, right, okay, you know what? They're now battling an E50M. They're battling people that are coming towards them. So I'm going to go close the distance. I'm going to get into a better position to try and get shots at these guys that will all be camping behind that K45 line area. And I'm thinking, well, artillery will be behind there, and there he is. I'm thinking, okay, HE time. I can get a nice, big, juicy 630 or 680 HE round into that guy. That'd be great. And I can bump up my damage total. But then the C5 gets spotted down below, and I'm thinking, oh, I've just, at a quick glance, I saw him, and he had his ass pointing at me. But now he doesn't, and it's like, well, sod's law that. I'll just slap the HE round at him anyway. 146 damage, and I'll switch back to the AP, because it's like, well, there's no point in having the HE round in. The E5 gets shut down. The T92 is still alive at this point with the heavy tank with him. And it's just, please, guys, please don't shoot him. I don't want this to happen. So we're just charging towards the T92, hoping that our team doesn't get the chance to kill him and I can, you know, get him as well. But unfortunately, it's not that way. Daffy Duck, Randy's brother, gets the kill. I finished the game with 4 kills. 4 kills? 4k and 3.8k damage. Or, okay, we'll start again. 4k damage with 3.8k assistance. Ugh. Maths, numbers, reading, English, it's hard, okay? 1357 base XP, another pretty decent game for the 780 there. And that just sort of shows you, that the reason I wanted to use that replay was it showed you the weirdness of the armour and the random places that people pen you. Like an Object 30B with 255 standard APCR pen, just going through the turret cheeks even though it's 300mm thick. And then randomly hitting the lower plate at weird angles as well and stuff like that. Just making mincemeat of my armour. And then, as like I say, when you're going up and down ridge lines and random tanks manage to clap your upper plate and lower plate as well at random angles, that just makes the armour completely useless. And it can be annoying. But it showed also the great view range of the tank as well. And then the decent mobility to get yourselves into the positions. So this last replay is the best of the lot. It's the best game I've had in it so far. And this one is using the traction system. Now, I did it to get to 49 kilometers an hour. I had 2 or 3 games with it, like I say, and you can see we're getting up to that 49 kilometers an hour on flat quite easy. Well, we're getting up towards that 49 kilometers an hour on flat as long as we're not turning the tank. And it's able to get into this aggressive position here on cliff, into this middle area. And this middle area is really a good place to be. We've got a nice shot snapped at the Waffle E100, and you can see actually we're not using vert stabs, so we managed to hit him. Didn't pen him, unfortunately, but we did track him. We get a nice shot into the tracks there of that E50, and we're just trying again to get another shot through the side of his turret for 569, which is really nice. And this Camper Panzer 50T is coming in. It's like, hello, Mr. Campy Panzer. He manages to bounce on us. The E50 is going around the other side. We get another shot slapped into that guy for 531. He manages to pen our side. He's actually stock because he's hitting us for very little. And I'm just being careful here of both of them because obviously they've got a little bit of crossfire going on. But he was tracked in a dangerous position. We've not actually got much cover from our team because our whole team, except for 3 guys, is literally sitting on the 1 line, which is a bit of a problem and can be a problem for Cliff. Happens a lot, which can be irritating. And we've got these guys pushing quite aggressively. But fortunately enough, it's a 53 TP, which might struggle to pen me. But I can keep getting shots straight through his upper plate with the standard round. SU-130PM is also staring. It's like, well, hello, Mr. SU-130PM. I'll slap a shot at you. Then he does damage to us, and I'm thinking, he did damage to me, but I didn't really clock how much damage he actually did at first. He's actually just firing HE. It's like, okay, well, I'm just going to get rid of this 53 TP because the SU-130PM is running away, the Camper Panzer's run away, and this 53 TP is the only one looking at me. So I may as well shut down the tank that's looking at me before focusing it on other tanks. And you can see, again, this is where this tank is a little bit nicer than stuff like the 260 or the IS-7 or the 277 because they have 5 degrees of gun depression. They would struggle a little bit with this position because they'd have to overexpose a little bit more, whereas me with this 7 degrees of gun depression can use this position really quite nicely. And so far, we're up to 2 kills with 4.1k damage. The Camper Panzer comes out, and it's like, well, I'll just get a shot into this Camper Panzer then, into his drive wheel and pen him. But unfortunately, we only track him, which is kind of sad. I was hoping to finish him off, but it didn't quite happen. We then do get the shot through his lower plate, which shuts him down. And now we're on to 3 kills. And I'm thinking, right, okay, what do I want to do? I kind of want to go shoot the people down the F line. But at the same time, artillery might pen us in the ass at that point. We do have a couple of tanks still left watching the 1-2, but it is what it is. This G-Saw gets spotted. Then we get slapped by the artillery. Now, that's where the artillery changes can be nice, as well as the fact that that thing does fire so much quicker, right? That's where the artillery changes can be nice. As long as you face it. So far as playing against it today, so far as that, playing against one of them is okay. As soon as you play against 3 of them, it's really toxic. But that's always been the case, right? Because they're just firing all the time. But that T92 hit that hit us flush on the upper plate, hit us for like 400 damage. Before their changes, that would have probably killed me for 1,000. So that's where it can be nicer. So with RT 2.0, just reduce the number of artillery in a game to 1 all the time. And I think the changes will be okay, as long as they remove the AP rounds as well, because the AP rounds are completely broken. But yeah, facing 1 of artillery with these changes is okay. As soon as you get to 2 and 3, it's pretty painful, just because of how fast they fire and the module damage and all that sort of stuff. And then also, the AP rounds are a bit broken on some of the tier 10 tanks as well, like the T92. But the health changes is quite nice for MOEs and stuff, because it's like going after arties, kind of as annoying as it can be that these guys could probably get a chance to shotgun me. And actually, again, I would have died there with the splash, but fortunately I didn't. You can pen them for like 700 with HE, and you can keep bumping up your damage, which is nice. I finished with the 4 kills, 6.1k damage, 912 assistance, 2.9k blocks as well, because they didn't quite know what to do with this. High caliber steel wall, first class, 1560 base XP. A really nice game for the object, 780. That's probably the best one I've had so far. Hopefully, we'll get a few more as we go along. So as always, I think this tank's pretty decent for 2k gold. It's a pretty okay tank, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it, and some people will find it a bit frustrating. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.